If you don't hear their drops, then this is not a true exclusive.
What's up, everybody? My name is Tony Hope, and you're listening to the Hear Me Roar podcast, a sports show where I run my mouth about all things sports. And today, my patience is running thin, but we are bringing you another iteration of the Hear Me Roar podcast with my co-host, Noble Lewis. And if you're not familiar with my voice, you better get used to it because I am the future of sports media. I say my patience is running thin because all of a sudden, my Wi-Fi wants to act up. I transitioned to my hotspot. I'm currently recording an hour-long stream on my hotspot. So if there's any chops, I apologize because this is bad and it's very annoying and it's frustrating. But anywho, we're reporting to y'all live the day after Christmas, the day after a horrible Christmas night for Noble. How you doing today, bro?
Like I said, it was rough last night. I had a good Christmas day. I was excited leading up to about 8:15 p.m. Eastern time, and then my excitement slowly dwindled until I was depressed about 11:15 Eastern time.
Man, that was a bad loss. It was just not a good showing from the Niners. But we'll get into that game in depth very soon. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. Before then, though, please, y'all like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. Leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, everything that you might possibly listen to Hear Me Roar on. Give us feedback. We're going to be doing this for a long time. As you can see, we're pumping out episodes to y'all now twice a week. We're trying to get to y'all, especially with the NBA season picking up full steam and the NFL postseason about to begin. We want to get as much positive feedback as possible. We want to get as much critique as possible. So anything y'all see that you would like us to improve on, let us know. Anything you'd like us to speak on next episode, let us know. We're here to entertain y'all. We're here to give our analysis to y'all. So please just, give us some feedback. Apple, Spotify, Odyssey, anything that you might probably listen to, especially on YouTube. And with that being said, let's dive right into today's episode. And, of course, you already know what we're starting out on. We're starting out with the Ravens and the 49ers. It was a much anticipated game. The 49ers had a couple of these games last season. When they first played the Cowboys and playing the Ravens. And up until last night, look, in these super big games, the Ravens were just absolutely cooking. Blew out the Cowboys, blew out the Eagles, and then they got cooked by the Ravens. The first quarter, it was a very interesting score. It was 5-3. Y'all started out very strong, getting a safety with Lamar tripping over the official's foot. Started off pretty strong. And then in the second quarter, it just started to all unravel. And then especially after halftime, it just was a full-blown collapse. Brock Purdy having the worst game of his NFL career, throwing 255 yards, 0 touchdowns, and four interceptions, 3 in the first half. It was the offensive line kept getting hurt. Everybody was getting hurt. It was pretty much turning into traffic cones on the field. Lamar Jackson had his way through the air, had his way on the ground. And it was just overall a very out-of-character game for the 49ers. So before I give my full analysis on it, since you're a 49ers fan, I would like to hear your opinion. What did you take away from that game? What went wrong for the 49ers?
Well, first takeaway, Purdy MVP discussions are cooked. Those are officially fried, and rightfully so. But on a serious note, it was just, over the course of the season, you're going to have games where it just ends up being one of those games. And like you said, it was very uncharacteristic. Lamar is one of, if not the most dynamic players, definitely one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the league. So when you play, and there's a reason why he's 19-1 against NFC teams. When you play him once every 4 years, once every 3 years, it is almost impossible to prepare for that. His dynamicism is just too good. He's like too electric. You don't really know what you're going against until you go against Lamar. You can game plan, you can watch film, you can do all of that stuff. But there's a reason. I mean, his regular season win percentage is high anyway, but there's a reason why he's 19-1 against NFC teams, and that's just because he's too good. He's too good to prepare for, and yeah, he's like that, man. He's like that. He's probably gonna win MVP because of this game, and rightfully so. He had a great game, and so it just started. It started rough from the jump, because on the first drive, 49ers defense came out strong, got a 3-and-out on the first drive. 49ers offense drove down the field, got in the red zone, and then Brock Purdy threw a bad interception to Kyle Hamilton in the end zone. And so one thing I did take away from the game was that the turnover ratio was 5-0.
Yeah.
5 turnovers. You're not going to win many games with 5 turnovers, especially not against any good teams. But the fact that the turnover ratio was 5-0 and 49ers only lost by 2 touchdowns, they lost by 14 points. That is one thing that gives me a lot of hope, because 2 of those turnovers came in the red zone. So if you just take those 2 turnovers, and those can easily, like I said, they came from the red zone. Those could easily be touchdowns next time. Those, if you clean stuff up, like, because the first one, like I said, Brock Purdy threw a bad ball to Kyle Hamilton in the end zone. If he hits Debo on the route just half a second earlier, we're looking at a touchdown. And then in the last interception, it was 4th and goal. The Ravens were literally just in prevent. They had like 6 guys just guarding the goal line. There was not going to be any holes there. They just threw it up. So those 2 trips could easily turn into points in the future, not to mention the 3 other turnovers, and not to mention the fact that the 49ers defense didn't cause a turnover of their own. So in the future, you look at this, and like we said, it's uncharacteristic of the 49ers. They don't have many 5 turnover games, 4 interceptions. This is a like we said, worst game of Brock Purdy's career. We don't see games like this from him often, and I'm hoping with Brock's mental fortitude that this is just a one-off game. It was good to get some stuff on film, and I would rather, because the only way for us to see the Ravens again would be to be in the Super Bowl. So I would rather, work all this stuff out and get the looks that we're going to get and things of that sort. I would rather do that now than have it be the first time in the Super Bowl, because like I said, Lamar's too dynamic he's too dynamic to be playing once every 4 years and think that you're going to have a lot of success, like I said, it was one of those games, and we put some stuff on film. There's a lot of good things to take away. There's a lot of bad things to take away. And I'm just glad we were able to it was a good measuring stick game to see that we're not exactly there yet. We are still the best team in the NFC. We're still one of the best in the NFL, but we are not there. We haven't won the Super Bowl yet. We still got some stuff to iron out.
Yep, absolutely. I agree with that last statement wholeheartedly. Like, it's you're not, as much as you won against the Eagles and as much as y'all won against the Cowboys, job's not finished. You might have beat your immediate competition, but as we just seen, the next time if y'all play them again, the earliest would be the Super Bowl. That'll be the next time y'all play, and that's been what I predicted the Super Bowl to be since about October, November. So I was very looking forward to this game. I was really looking forward to it. It started off very fun game, because the amount of talent on both sides of the ball for both teams was vast. You got Kyle Hamilton on the side of the Ravens, and to match him, you got I guess Hufanga wasn't in, so I'm not going to say the exact safety, but the best player on the 49ers defense, Fred Warner. And you got Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen for the Ravens. Then you got Joey Bosa and Chase Young for the Ravens. You got Debo for the Niners, Debo and Ayuk for the Niners, and then you got Zay Flowers and OBJ for the Ravens. Like, it's just so much talent that is pretty much they both even out. When we get to the very top of it, everything adds up. Both teams even out. Two very good defenses, two very great offenses, heavy hitters, and we got to give a lot of credit to the Ravens defense. A lot of credit. Like I said, all of it needs context, of course. I know what quarter was it Trent Williams went down in?
He went down. He didn't go down to the fourth.
The fourth? Okay. But did y'all already have injuries going into it on the O-line?
Yeah, well,
Or was
we've
it
already
just all
had
accumulative?
both. We had a couple injuries on the O-line going into it, but obviously during the game, our right tackle had to move to left tackle. Our right guard came out, and then our backup right tackle came out. So most of that was during the fourth quarter, though.
Yeah, so there was a time where y'all had no one left in reserves for the O line. Y'all was finna have a quarterback situation.
As someone who knows like probably 45 out of 53 of the players on the roster, I didn't know who we brought in at right tackle. I didn't even know who he was.
Yeah, man, that shows how top heavy the offensive line position is. But the Ravens they accumulated 4 sacks on the night. 2 of those coming by way of Brent Urban, the DN. 11 pass deflections total on the game. So, and a lot of those pass deflections ended up in the hands of, or 2 of those pass deflections ended up in the hands of, or at least one, Kyle Hamilton. He had 2 on the game. They had 3, 4, 5 total interceptions, 1 by Sam Darnold, 4 by Brock Purdy. The defense just came out and punched the 49ers in the mouth, straight up. 3 first half interceptions, and 2 of those I believe 2 of those were caused directly by the Ravens defense deflecting a pass, getting to the quarterback. A lot of pressure on Brock Purdy early in the game. You're right that you can't really game plan against Lamar Jackson, especially when you only play him once every how many years? 4 years.
4.
You can't really do much to game plan against that team. However, I am a huge advocate of bringing your A game to all of your competitors, but especially the ones that you know you might see again. Right? We saw when they played the Eagles, it was just clicking. It was clicking. Even after a horrible first half where y'all had like 6 yards total in the whole first quarter was only like 6 yards total. Y'all came back and it was a well-oiled machine from the second quarter to the end of the game. Same thing against the Cowboys. It was y'all played y'all absolute A game. Y'all played like y'all had something to prove, especially against Philly. And I expected to see much of that against the Ravens because I know we shouldn't look forward because anything can happen in a single game elimination in the playoffs, but we might be playing these folks again in February in Las Vegas. So we need to bring our absolute A game. Everything needs to be tight. Everything needs to be ran to the best of our ability, full of maximum effort plus some more. And I don't know what was missing. I don't know if they didn't expect the physicality of the Ravens, because the Ravens were playing some hard hitting football out there. Like we didn't see no flags for unnecessary roughness, and there's a couple of tackles where I was like, oh, these weak refs are gonna throw something. We didn't see no flags for that. That was also another thing that I noticed too, was the 49ers were just building up a lot of self-inflicted penalties. We're talking about the punter hitting the punt return man for the Ravens out of bounds. Unnecessary roughness penalty. You tack on 15 more to the spot of the return. That was silly. I think that resulted in points on the other end as well. What else? There was holding penalties going on by Brandon Ayuk. It was just silly play, silly penalty.
Yeah, there was a lot of silly, like you said, silly mistakes. I mean, the penalties, it was they stacked up like drive killer after drive killer, holdings on offense, holdings on defense, pass
Defense, yeah.
interference. It's just it it was like you said, a very rough game through and through. Like everything was just sloppy. Nothing was for a team that's normally very scheduled where everything looks like almost a rehearsal.
Yeah.
They for Ravens, and I got to give credit to the Ravens defense or Ravens and team in general, because they're part of the reason that happened, but they were able to take what seemed the 49ers off schedule on everything, offensively, defensively. Like there was almost no like you said, everything normally looks very rehearsed for the 49ers, and they look like they were winging it yesterday. So
Really, just flying by the seat of their pants. And when you go against a team that is as physical and as, I guess, super, I don't want to say, we say it's dynamic so much, so I'm not going to say that, but so even defensively, like all three levels of the defense, from the safeties to the DBs to the linebackers to the pass rush, they're just super good at all of those positions that you can't get away with that. I was looking, it was, the score was what by halftime? It was, what was the score by halftime?
16-12.
16-12 by halftime. And after the Ravens racked up another 17 in the third quarter, and that was a 33, and 33-12, I was like, well, the Ravens have had problems closing games. The Ravens have had problems closing games in the past. There's still a lot of time left. Let's see if they can keep their foot on their necks and close out. They ended up doing so, but we're not allowed a little bit of scares when Sam Darnold came in for Brock Purdy after Brock Purdy, he re-aggravated a stinger that he suffered last week against the Cardinals. I didn't even know that happened, but excuse me. Sam Darnold came in and threw a touchdown in the fourth quarter, the only touchdown of the second half for the Niners. And I was like, look, if the Ravens somehow have this game come down to crunch time, come down to a 10-point or a 7-point game, we're gonna be. I'm not. This is. It was gonna be very bad news. Of course, it didn't end up happening, because I was gonna say if Darnold Mania started running wild on Christmas Day, that would have been crazy. But yeah, overall, man, it was just a very out of character game for the Ravens. They couldn't come away with a tide or a momentum swinging turnover like the Ravens were doing over and over and over and over. And like we were texting about it in the group chat, but like when you see the momentum in football build up versus the momentum in basketball, or the momentum in any sport build up, it's unlike none other in football. It becomes so overwhelming, and it throws off. It can throw off, and it often does throw off the entire team's energy, the entire team's game plan, and it just becomes sometimes too much to overcome. And when you throw 4 interceptions by one quarterback and then an additional interception by another, you're not overcoming that. I'm sorry.
I'm not against any good teams, at least.
Yeah, not against a team that is slated to go to the Super Bowl, not with a team with the MVP candidate on it. No. So we're going to see how the Ravens bounce back next week. Who do y'all play?
We play the Commanders.
Well, that should be an easy enough game to bounce back from. I'm not worried about the 49ers.
Yeah,
one game. About how they play.
Game.
It is one game, and it's not as much as I would have wanted to see the Niners bring their best performance possible to a team that they might play in the Super Bowl. It still doesn't matter much, because the 49ers still got to get through, at the bare minimum, 2 NFC teams before they even sniff the playoffs or to sniff the Super Bowl. So at the end of the day, it didn't really matter much. Maybe it did matter a lot for the Ravens. You see how you could play against top-tier comp. You know what you can do.
Yeah, like it's a good measuring stick game. Good. Mentally, I would say it mattered a little bit for, like it would. That's definitely a confidence boost for the Ravens, and rightfully so. You beat what some people think were the best team in the NFL. Definitely the best team in the NFC. And so right now, it can definitely be a on top of the world feeling for the Ravens. I think if you can channel that energy into good instead of arrogance, that's all the momentum in the world. For the 49ers, I don't think it should be a momentum killer. I don't think it should be something that should get them down. I think you should just take a look at the mistakes, see what happened, see what you can fix, and go in the next week. Like we said, the Commanders, you shouldn't have any problem bouncing back against them. You should just be able to put that game in your back pocket. Brock Purdy, MVP talks are done, so maybe I don't know if there was a little bit of pressure he was feeling from that. That he can say it's not important to him, and knowing the way Brock carries himself, it probably wasn't important to him. But you hear the noise. You hear the noise. It's impossible to act like you don't hear the talk. So I don't know if that was a little bit of pressure for him or not. But the talks are over. So just put the game in your back pocket, learn what you can, and go into next week. And that's really all that you need to take away from that game. It's not, you can look if at the end of the season the 49ers hoist the Lombardi, no matter who they go against, nobody's gonna say, hey, remember that 4 interception game that bad game y'all dropped to the Ravens. So just put it in the back pocket.
Absolutely. And that's pretty much what the Niners have to do. You can't let this knock you off your rock. And it's not a loss that's going to cause out a spiral. But for
still
both
in control
teams,
still in control of the 1 seed. As long as if they beat the Commanders, they beat the Rams, they're still in control of the 1 seed. They can still get that bye week in the playoffs. So everything, it literally changes nothing almost. And I think they just need to focus on, especially Brock. I think Brock is the one who has the biggest mental toll, the biggest mental challenge to overcome going into next week, because you go on Twitter right now and see the slander. It's a little bad. I don't even think he's on social media like that, but there was a lot of people that were waiting for this game, waiting for him to mess up, essentially. And similar to Lamar, he's going to be running from a label for a very long time. Lamar was running from that running back label even after he won an MVP. And we all know that it wasn't real. It had no real basis, but still the label was there. And so Brock Purdy's going to be running from that system QB label for a very long time. Not his fault, but I think a lot of people forget that he is a second-year quarterback coming off of a reconstructed elbow surgery. That was the last pick of the draft. I think a lot of people do forget that he's really not supposed to be in this position. He's not supposed to be on a roster, much less starting, much less competing for MVP talks.
Exactly. The amount of success that he's had thus far is just like bar none. Like probably it's just ridiculous. He has a lot of pressure on him, but I think he's on the carry with stride. Like you have to. You're starting quarterback of one of the best teams and one of the most storied franchises in the league. Can't let that pressure get to you. Yeah. And I have confidence that he will. And it's up to him at the end of the day to break those labels. Like, well, look at Lamar this season. He got paid his money. He represented himself in free agency. He got paid a ridiculous contract, and he has been playing the best football of his whole career. So it's up to Brock Purdy to break those labels that have been placed on him. Winning a Super Bowl cures all ills, and so that's what he needs to strive for. And and speaking of, I know you said earlier, speaking of this slander that has been taking place on social media, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, has the magic ran out for the Raiders cornerback Jack Jones? He believes so. He going into the game, the Las Vegas Raiders would be playing at the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium on Christmas Day. It was the midday game, right? Yeah, it was the midday game. And the Raiders ended up pulling out a victory, 20-14. Very surprising loss for the Chiefs. Very great win for the Raiders. In the build up or in the lead up to the game, victory. The key to victory for Raiders cornerback Jack Jones was pretty simple. He said, "It's Patrick Mahomes we got to stop. We ain't worried about the receivers. We're not worried about the people he's throwing to. It's Patrick Mahomes we got to stop. You stop the magician, then the act is over." It looked like the act was over. They forced the act over. You know those little hooks on in the cartoons where they pull the people off stage. That's what the Raiders just did. The Raiders got that hook. They yanked that man off stage and threw some tomatoes while they were at it. They absolutely decimated the Chiefs from a mental standpoint. You know why I say that? Because look at the score and you look like, well, it's 20-14. That was only a 1-point game or a one-score game. The Raiders beat the Chiefs with a total 48 passing yards on the game. Aiden McConnell didn't complete a pass in the entire second half. That's how mentally broken they had the Chiefs. And I say mentally because, come on, as a defense, you can't stop any of these. Who is this? Zamir White, 22 carries for 145 yards. Josh Jacobs wasn't even playing. That's how thorough the Raiders beat the Chiefs. It was a bad game just in total from the team. There was the turnover woes continue to play the Chiefs. Drop passes. It was, and they had an opportunity to win. It wasn't like it was a blowout loss. They had a chance to win, and they couldn't put it together. The Chiefs are who they are now. There is no fixing this. There is no magical cure that's going to propel them to success in the playoffs. Look, all they needed was to beat the Raiders to accomplish one of their goals for this year, which was to win the AFC West title for like the 8th time in a row. They couldn't get that done. So now it's still in the air. So pending the Chiefs losing these last 2 games and pending what the Broncos and the Chargers do, your Raiders could mess around and win the division. That's how crazy yes. The Raiders with who started the season with Jimmy Garoppolo, who started the season with what's his name?
Josh McDaniels.
Josh McDaniels coaching this team. There's still a slight chance that they could win the division. What did you see? Like, what's wrong with the Chiefs? Why are they so inept offensively? And why does it seem like teams are starting to put an end to this Chiefs dynasty?
For me, it just seems like there's no safety net anymore. Like, it always seemed in the past that if nothing else was clicking, Mahomes to Kelce was going to be, they were going to get that connection going regardless. And it looks like teams have figured out not just stop Mahomes, but if you stop Mahomes to Kelce, everything else. The building blocks just fall. Like, there's literally the support beams that support this team. And in the past, me and you have talked about, especially remember in the Super Bowl, we talked about how is Travis Kelce always so open.
Right.
Teams are taking that away now. They're saying we'll let MBS beat us. We'll let Richie James beat us. We'll let Rashee Rice beat us. We're not gonna let you beat us with Kelce. And right now, I can't say play calling because it's teams are specifically stopping Kelce, but they're just eliminating that connection, and it can't get anybody else going because when you build off of the Mahomes to Kelce connection, you're able to open up other parts of the offense. But if you take that away and force them to go to someone else or go to other receivers early, it throws off the rhythm of that offense. And I think that engine is just too important. They're not a good enough run team where, hey, the pass isn't working, just put the ball in Pacheco's hands. Even though Pacheco's a great running back or a very solid, good running back, their offense is built on throwing the ball. And
Right.
so when that connection isn't working, Mahomes to Kelsey, it throws off the entire offense because they can't go to the other. It hurts the confidence of the whole offense as in general, and they can't go to the other receivers as well because other teams aren't as worried about getting beat by Mahomes to Kelsey. So I think it just comes down to finding a way to get the ball from Mahomes to Kelsey early. If they do that, that's what they used to do. That's what we've seen in the Super Bowl against the Eagles. I think that needs to be a priority, even if it's on a screen. We've seen Travis Kelce score on a shovel pass to the touchdown. Just any way to get the ball in the hands of the playmakers, getting that connection going, I think is important for the Chiefs. And then I don't want to say Mahomes isn't mentally locked in. I don't want to say that, but I do think there might be a little because it's very uncharacteristic of Mahomes from the way he's been playing recently. I don't want to say there's a distraction, but it's been a little, and I think part of this might just be us used to Mahomes finding a way because we're always used to Mahomes. No matter what, he's going to find a way to do something crazy. But it just seems like lately something's missing. Something's missing other than just like I talked about, the connection issue, like the game plan. It just feels like that edge that he's going to pull it out the mud no matter what just isn't there. And I think they just have to find a way to kind of reset themselves, go into next week understanding that there is no, like you said, there is no magic cure. There is no hidden potion that they can pop and fix the whole offense. They've got to actually game plan, actually put together something to unlock the offense the way it used to be. And I mean, we've seen the drops. Everybody's seen the drops, but the only thing different about this receiving core is minus Juju. And Juju's decent, but there's not a top 5 receiver we're talking about.
As we see him in New England, he is not the go-to man that, that people might have thought he could have been. No.
Literally. So I think it just comes down to a matter of Andy Reid. Honestly, literally get Andy Reid, Mahomes, and Kelsey, put them 3 in a room and let them cook and just find a way to unlock the offense through the 3 of them, 2 of them.
But it's so interesting because I mean they just won a Super Bowl, and like you said, this team isn't very vastly different. It isn't too different, but it just seems like all year Patrick Mahomes has just been unable to find. He was unable to get in sync with his receivers. He's been unable to find a connection that is just, I don't want to say consistent, but I will say consistent. He's been unable to find a connection with his receivers that has been consistent all year. And I mean, like we look at the turnovers, Patrick Mahomes threw an interception to Jack Jones and ended up in a touchdown, pick 6. Now, and that was the same cornerback that told media beforehand, you stop the magician, you stop the act, you stop the show, and the offense is just so inept. The offense is so the O-line traffic cones, the receivers rocks for hands, and then when they play against a tough defense, a defense that they don't got nothing to lose. The Raiders, they're playing against a defense who wanted to get in their face, wanted to make a point. They're being coached by an amazing hype man. I don't want to say just a hype man because he's more than that, but he's able to Aiden Pierce. He's able to galvanize his troops, able to light a fire up under them and make them play for more, even though their season hasn't gone the way that they wanted. We saw it from the jump after what's his name, bro? McDaniels. What's his first name? Josh McDaniels got fired. I don't know why I want to say Jack McDaniels. When Josh McDaniels got fired, we saw it from the jump. When under his leadership, they want to play. They want to play hard. They want to play fast. They want to prove a point, to make your day miserable. And we saw that with the defense from the Raiders against the Chiefs. They forced 2 turnovers. One resulted in a score. And once your defense is once you can fall back on line your defense, you don't need your quarterback to complete a pass in the final 45 minutes of the game. You don't. Like that's the truth of it.
Let's not forget the fact that Zamir White had 22 carries for 145 yards. They couldn't stop him.
They couldn't stop him on the ground. Antonio Pierce, not Aiden Pierce. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about Watch Dogs. What is wrong with me? That is crazy. That is horrible. I'm sorry. Antonio Pierce. Antonio Pierce too. He's been coaching like he has something to play for, and he does in this case. It's a head coaching job, a full-time position.
He fully deserves that job. That interim tag needs to be removed. Honestly, it should already be removed in my eyes, especially after what if they find a way to make the playoffs. He should have the tag removed before they take a snap in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
But yeah, he's doing an amazing job, not just being a player's coach, not just hyping them up, giving them a reason to play, but also the game plan has actually been good as well, especially with the personnel that they have. So, just shout out to Antonio Pierce. Can't say enough good things about him right now. Yeah,
because you're not gonna have games where you don't complete a pass in the second half. That's not normal. Even though you're playing with Aiden McConnell, that's not normal.
O'Connell.
So O'Connell, you're not going to have too many of those games. But one thing that you can have consistently is a defense with one of the best pass rushers in the league, Max Crosby, leading the way, putting pressure on quarterbacks, causing them to we saw Patrick Mahomes look better running the ball than throwing it at times, because that's all the defense was giving him. They could say, Pat, you can scramble for these 5, 10, 15 yards, not even 15, really 5 to 10 yards at a time, because you're not completing the ball through the air. Travis Kelce only had 44 yards on the day.
5 catches, 44 yards.
Yeah, and then Isaiah Pacheco, he had 11 carries for 26 yards. So if you're the leading rusher and you're not completing passes to your best receiver, y'all don't have a single chance of winning this game. You don't have a single formula of winning this game. So it was a great game for the Raiders. Absolutely just, I don't want to say shocking loss, but it was a bad loss for the Chiefs. We've never seen Patrick Mahomes play on the road in the playoffs. And
which is insane. That is crazy. He is in his really 7th year in the league.
and the fact that this might be the first, and with the team that he has constructed around him and the way they've been playing, them playing on the road in the playoffs, bro. We might see Mahomie back at home on the couch early. Yeah. I truly think so. Because like you said, man, there's no fixing this. There is no cure. There is no type of rally you can have. And even what you said with Mahomes, Reed, and Kelce getting in the room and just kind of bro, what do we got to do? I don't think that's enough, because you can't. You're the only guy. You're the only guy. It's a full 60-minute game. We can't just rely on you for the wild card, the divisional, the conference championship, and the Super Bowl. That's not happening. You're not going to get away with that.
Actually, I got a magic cure.
What?
Break up with Taylor Swift.
Maybe. Yeah.
That's a magic cure right there. Because they didn't have these woes early in the season before them talks.
Nope.
I got a magic cure. Actually, there is one. All right, Chiefs fans, there is one magic cure.
Taylor Swift is a curse? Question mark? I don't know. Maybe his ex put some voodoo on him. Put a curse on Travis Kelce. Because man, they just haven't It's been very weird to see too. And also, before we go on to the next team, it's just been very interesting this whole year. There isn't one single standout team.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like there isn't one very dominant team. There's not like the Chiefs that are scoring 40 points at will. It's not like the Patriots when they had Brady in 2008 or even in 2000 and what was it 16. It's not like the Panthers in 2015. It ain't like the Seahawks in 2014. It's not like the Eagles last year. There's no single standout team where it's like this is a
This
team to beat.
team, yeah. Well, it kind of was the 49ers until last night, but even so, it wasn't as much as it was in past years. But there's
Because now we got
definitely,
Ravens, Dolphins, Cowboys, Eagles, Chiefs, or not Chiefs, 49ers. All of those teams you can realistically throw around as like a possibly make the Super Bowl.
yeah, it's just tiers right now. Like there's
Yeah.
contentionship tiers, right? And pretty much everybody is in the same contentionship tier. Like the names you mentioned, Dolphins. Hey man, I know we're gonna get into them soon, but I would throw the Browns in Super Bowl contention, and that is horrendous to say. I don't
That
like to
is.
say that statement out loud, but I
Yeah, that's
have
very
to.
odd to
I
hear.
have to give Flacco Mania credit, but we'll get
Yeah.
into that in a second.
Nah, we can go and get into that right now
We'll
because,
get
like,
into that
you're
right now.
right. The fact that Joe Flacco has been producing the way we talked about last week, but the way that Joe Flacco has been playing, I know last week too he had the 4 interceptions, and then this game as well against the Texans that they beat on Sunday. He had how many interceptions? If my computer will
2
load,
interceptions.
2. Yeah, so he throws the ball away a lot, but we've seen in the past where, I mean, you got a defense like the Browns, you got a little leeway. You
Yeah,
got a
and
little leeway.
also Joe Flacco has nothing to lose. I mean, we saw
Not at
how he
all.
was slinging the ball. He's throwing the ball. This there's no expectations on Joe Flacco right now. So he's throwing the ball. He had 2 interceptions, but he did have 3 passing touchdowns.
Yeah,
He was locked in on Amari Cooper, 11 catches, 265 yards, and 2
that was a
touchdowns.
really
Amari
good game.
Cooper had an insane game. And just Joe Flacco is playing exactly what his situation is. He has nothing to lose. Joe, go out there, sling the ball. Defense, we got you. We'll back you up. And he's finding Amari Cooper. He's finding
David
Njoku.
Njoku.
Yeah, that's what he's finding. He's making those connections, and the offense can only build from here. We're talking about a guy who was on his couch 3 weeks ago. So, I respect that he's playing the way he's playing, even with the turnover woes. He's still coming out there and flinging the ball, Jameis Winston style, nothing to lose. And I think the Browns offense literally can only get better because they have to. He's probably still learning the playbook fully. I mean, like I said, he's coming off the couch 3 weeks ago. So, shout out Flacco, man.
For sure, because I mean, like, let's be real. Yeah, last season he was with the Jets, and he was able to eke out a couple of wins with the Jets. But like, when was the last time we really took Joe Flacco? Like the bro, he got his. We were all clamoring for him to get benched for Lamar Jackson back in 2018. We were all saying it, and now to fast forward to 2023, and he's playing in the same conference against the same division against the same team that he won a Super Bowl with, and that he was benched for Lamar Jackson. The fact that he's still producing and the fact that he's winning games, like we have to put that in real, like we have to say it. They're 10-5. He's
Man, they
winning
can get the
games.
1 seed.
They can. And Amari Cooper, he was throwing to Amari Cooper, helped him get a franchise record 265 yards. His previous career high was 226 back in 2019. This is and he makes he joins Terrell Owens, Amari Cooper. He joins Terrell Owens as the second receiver, the only receivers with 200-yard receiving games for 3 different teams. It's kind of crazy. Really crazy, actually. Cowboys, Raiders, and Browns. And yeah, we do have to put some respect on the Browns name. best defense in the league by far. And Joe Flacco, the fact that he is able to come in and just play with, I don't want to say with no expectations, because they definitely did, but that he can kind of play a little bit more relaxed because he has a defense to fall back on. When you have so many just goons on that side of the ball, that you have that luxury of, okay, if you make a mistake, it's cool. You don't have Nick Chubb neither. Mind you, they're winning games without Nick Chubb. Their leading rusher for against the Texans was
Jerome Ford,
15 carries, 25 yards.
which is
So you kind of had to throw the ball.
Yeah, as I said, that's negligible.
Yeah, you have to throw the ball. There is no, you have no choice but to. And just very impressive from the Browns. The fact that they still have 2 more games to just continue to grow that bond between Joe Flacco and Amari Cooper, especially, it spells trouble for any team that is matched up against them. Excuse me. Excuse me. It spells trouble for any team matched up against them in the playoffs.
Are the Texans? Is CJ Stroud supposed to come back next week?
Let's see. Because he's been out for the last 2 games.
Yeah, I think obviously
they need him back.
Yeah, I was gonna say obviously we know the Texans need CJ Stroud, but it's very apparent, even more apparent now. Davis Mills, solid backup. He had 2 touchdowns, 150 yards. He's not going to carry you to the land.
No.
They need CJ Stroud back, and I think they need him back soon because I think the AFC South is still wide open because the Jags are kind of goofing off lately, and you don't want to mess up and throw away your playoff hopes in the last 3 weeks of the season. Like we were just
according to Adam Schefter, he said that despite this is on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, despite missing his 2nd straight game due to a concussion, Texans quarterback CJ Stroud has begun to make some progress, and there's optimism he could be ready to play next week versus the Titans.
Okay, well, you don't want to rush him back. This is a rookie quarterback. You don't need to throw him back into the fire if he's not ready. But they definitely are missing him. I'll say that they definitely feel those misses. And right now, them and the Jags are both 8-7. I don't know who has the tiebreaker between the 2 of them, but you just want to, you want to secure. If you're still goal is still playoffs, you want to secure that spot as much as you can. So, yeah, hopefully he can get healthy soon and they can go back to looking like they used to.
And if you look at the Browns' schedule, their last 2 games are against the Jets and the Bengals. Those are both. Yeah, at this point, Bengals just got cooked by the Steelers and in just crazy, horrible fashion by Mason Rudolph. By the way, we can talk about that later. It's just, and then I know
the AFC is 8-7.
I know it's really crazy. I don't want to continue to talk about a man that hasn't taken a field in a while, but what is next with Deshaun Watson? He wasn't doing this with Amari Cooper when he was on the field.
That's very true. He's been out of my mind. I'm not gonna lie to you.
No, because there's real questions. It's not. Of course, Joe Flacco isn't the answer. He isn't. He isn't the future. Because the man is like 37. He's not the future, and you don't want to go into. You don't want to go into a cult situation where it's like, well, we can just throw any veteran back there and we can make the playoffs. Hopefully, we can win some games. You don't want to do that. You do want to have an elite quarterback because you have a lot to have that for the entirety of your goddamn existence. But there do need to be talks first about a man who is taking up at least 26% of your cap. Like what do we do with Deshaun Watson? Nobody's going to want to trade for him because of how much money he's making and is guaranteed. The Browns kind of goofed themselves in this situation. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, that, like I said a couple weeks ago, they're kind of stuck with him because you can't trade him. Nobody's going to want to take that contract, or you would have to be giving up more for someone else to take on that contract like we've seen. Yeah. They can't cut him. Too much dead cap. I don't know the exact number, but I know it's high because of all the guaranteed money. There's really nothing else to do. They just kind of stuck with him. So, that might in a couple years, depending on the Browns' success, we might look back and say, "Oh, this really ruined their chances of a run because they can't build their roster like they want to because of that giant cap hit."
Yeah.
So, we'll have to see. Time will tell, but that is a very good big question mark, and I think that question mark will, depending on what they do this postseason, that question mark will just get bigger and bigger, and we'll see going into next year.
Yeah, because right now, what's best is the Browns just don't even think about it. You roll with Joe Flacco until the goddamn wheels fall off, and you worry about Deshaun Watson and your future after the playoffs. You're 10-5. This is a great season for y'all. Considering all of the mishaps y'all have had, especially with Nick Chubb going out so early in the season after he was playing so well. Deshaun Watson getting hurt, having to go to Dorian Thomas Robinson.
Yeah, DTR.
Yeah, and then him getting hurt, and then you having to go to Joe Flacco. So you considering everything that's going on, y'all are having a great season. Don't worry about Deshaun Watson. You roll with Joe Flacco, and you figure out everything later. But you're absolutely right. That question mark is going to continue to get bigger and bigger, because the patience with Watson is just running. It's not even running. It's war thin. It's war thin. It was such a big media circus on who was going to get him. It was such a big deal on where he was going and the amount of money he got paid, considering the allegate or the scandal that he was wrapped up in for 2 years, leaving Houston, and then the whole 12-game suspension he had when he landed with the Browns. So patience is wore thin with Watson, and that will be a big question mark and a big thing to address moving forward. But it's not important now. This is something, it's just something to keep in the back of you Cleveland fans' minds. I gotta poke the bear a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I gotta keep y'all
Can't
humble.
give him any
You know what I'm
peace.
saying? Yeah, I gotta keep y'all humble. Don't let y'all say it get too big with Joe Flacco. But yeah, you don't want to play the Browns in the playoffs. No,
Oh yeah,
not at all.
not especially not in Cleveland.
Nah,
That dog town.
yeah, and when the Cleveland Browns are good, they show up and they're
Yeah,
loud.
the fact that they were even there, considering how historically bad they've been, you don't want to see them when they're good.
Nah, yeah, that's not gonna be favorable for you. Well, let's head back to the NFC. Let's talk about. We're gonna stay in the NFC for a little bit. Let's talk about the Eagles versus Giants. Christmas Day game. It was a Philadelphia Eagles victory, 33-25. Tommy DeVito, man, he got benched. Got benched for Tyrod. The Vito mania is over.
Yeah.
Jimmy DeVito, he's back to the bench, man.
I'm glad Tyrod's getting another shot though, because it seems like there's always some crazy thing that happens. I mean, how many times have we seen Tyrod have a crazy injury after being the starter and just? I mean, we know the history. He got poked in the chest by the doctor that led to the Herbert.
That is so cursed. He was playing for the Chargers, and this man he suffered a fractured rib that turned into a poked lung, a ruptured lung or something because of the team doctor. Do you know how crazy that is, bro? I don't want to play football no more. I'm suing the entire NFL for negligence. The contract money is one thing. NFL, the corporation's money or these teams' money, that's where it's at. I would have sued him. He better than me. Oh man, F a football career. But yeah, it's good to see him back on the field. He came back in the second half, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, second half. He only completed 7 passes for 133 yards, a touchdown, and interception. But the game was pretty close, though. The Giants defense stepped up. Yeah, the Giants defense stepped up. I think they scored. The defense scored actually, but it was 33-25. What did you see from the Eagles? Particularly for me, I wasn't too impressed with this victory. This should have been a blowout win.
Moved me. I'm gonna be honest with you. I wasn't moved at all. Eagles fans on Twitter, they were not moved at all. I think it's we talked about this the last couple of weeks. The Eagles, I mean, they needed to win. So at the end of the day, you got the win. That's the important part. But in the back of their minds, that was not as good of a win as it should have been. It should not be a one-score game against the 5 or 4 beforehand, 5-9 Giants, right? When you look at how Hurts has been playing, he has not been playing up to standards that he set last year. He broke Cam's single season rushing TD record, but we all know there's a difference between those rushing TDs and Cam's rushing TD record. Yeah. And I just think for the Eagles, it shouldn't move. It doesn't move the needle. They don't move the needle right now. If it was a one-off thing, I could look at it and say, oh, okay, at the end of the day, you got the win, just put it in your back pocket. But because of the struggles that they've had leading into this game, it's hard for me to say that you can just look at this game as a rough game. Like, similar with the Chiefs, you kind of are who you are right now. And all season long, even though they've been winning games a lot better than the Chiefs have, or a lot more than the Chiefs have, it's still, they haven't looked comfortable. They haven't looked like, okay, we are a premier team, hands down. We are, they just don't look like the same Eagles that we saw last year that looked totally comfortable. So I think for me, the Eagles just need to, I really couldn't tell you the answer, to be honest. They just need to figure something out.
Again, the turnovers, it's a common theme with the Eagles. I mean, yeah, they might have broken the 3-game losing streak that they were on, but I mean, the turnovers are still there. It's still the turnovers are still there, and that Swiss cheese secondary is still there. Like I said, Adoree Jackson was the player who scored the pick six in the third quarter. No, in the third quarter, that got the score to 20-18, plus a horse collar penalty on Jalen Hurts. Ended up being enforced on a 2-point conversion. Saquon Barkley rushed in. The game's 20-18. Why is the game 20-18? You know what I'm saying? Like, against a team that you got to have attitude in sports. You have to have attitude. Just from my personal experience, back in June, I fought Cameron Burton for the first time at Monday Night Garage down in West End. And my attitude going into that fight, I was a champ. My attitude was, look, he's going to have to beat me. I know I'm not intimidated by him. I'm not scared of him. But since I'm the champion and I earned this belt, he's going to have to beat it off me. Quite literally. He's going to have to beat me for it. And bro, when I thought I did enough, but when those scorecards got read and he won by unanimous decision, although I felt in my heart of hearts, my teammates felt, my coaches felt, people who know the sport of Muay Thai knew that I should have won that fight, I didn't. It was left up for the judges, and my attitude going into that fight kind of determined how that fight played out. Then the next fight, I fought in August. Super quick turnaround. Fought in August. My attitude that whole fight, I'm going for a knockout. I fought Cody Ortiz up at the Battery. I said, I want a knockout. I want to put my hands on him. I want to leave no doubt. I don't want to go to a judge's decision. I don't need nobody to determine the fight for me. And in that fight, my attitude helped me get that elbow TKO victory in the second round. That was my most dominant fight, most likely, or second most dominant fight. And, that's when I really realized that your mentality, your attitude in sports determines how you play. Truly. And in this game against the Giants, I say all of that to say when the Eagles should have looked at the Giants as dog food. You have a quarterback rotation of Daniel Jones, Tyrod Taylor, and Tommy DeVito, an undrafted rookie. You should squash these fools with zero remorse. This should be a statement game, not just to get you back on track after losing 3 straight games, but to get you on track for to get your confidence back up, to put you on the map. Like, okay, I know it's just the Giants, but look, this is a tune-up game. This is a game for us to get back in the driver's seat of the NFC, to prove to everyone, to prove to our opponents, to prove to our fan base, to prove to the media that we are still a Super Bowl team. I don't care who we play. We just need to find our stride. And they didn't do that. They didn't. Now, this game shouldn't have been close. Call it unrealistic all you want. You just don't know ball. This game shouldn't be close. So Eagles fans on Twitter were rightfully disappointed how they played. The Eagles fans in attendance, you could hear them booing at certain points in the game at the Eagles. And it was warranted, because this is not a game that you should just be toying around with and still having the same mistakes you were having against the Cowboys, having the same mistakes you were having against the 49ers, the same mistakes you were having against the Seahawks. Yet, at the end of the day, y'all might have won, but the mistakes are still there. They're still prevalent. And like you said, like we said about the Chiefs, you are who you are now. This is who you are as a team. And it's highlighted by turnovers. It's highlighted by
bad secondary.
That oh my goodness. You want to talk about just straight feasting? Once we see plays like Darius Slayton, this is not a knock on Darius Slayton, but this is just to show how the Eagles really should have dominated that game on all fronts. The Giants' number one receiver is Darius Slayton, not a AJ Brown like y'all have, not a Justin Jefferson, not a Jamar Chase, not anyone of that caliber. Their best receiver would be a great wide receiver 2 for another team.
And then their wide receiver 2 is Wan'Dale Robinson. Again, no disrespect to bro, but let's be serious. That is not a receiving core that should have a single yard, much less 3 catches for 90 yards, Darius Slayton, and then Wan'Dale Robinson 3 catches.
Yeah, so. And one of those passes came in the fourth quarter. It was a 69-yard touchdown. That what brought the game to 5 points. So it's the Eagles are very unimpressive. They look too vulnerable. They don't know how to put their foot on the gas and not let up. Once you went up 20-3 in the second quarter going into halftime, that's when you run a score up. That's when you prove a point. You saw what the Raiders did to the Chargers. That's what you do when you are up 20-3 in the second by halftime. You crush your opponent's hopes. That's when the defense should be looking at stat pad. That's when we should be looking like shit. Let me go out here and try to get me some incentive money. That's when you should be doing it against that competition. And honestly, they play the Cardinals and then the Giants again. There really isn't anything that they can do to change the way I feel, change the way you feel, change the way most of Eagles fans feel about how their team is constructed and how they've been playing. Because if you look at their competition, like you couldn't put on a dominant display against the Giants, and we've seen the Cardinals put up a fight. We've seen them put up a fight against. Not even seeing put up a fight. They beat us.
They beat the Cowboys.
They beat the Cowboys. They always play tough. So we were going to see another game similar to last night against the Cardinals, and it's just one of those situations, man. The Eagles are not Super Bowl worthy. They're of course they're still in contentionship because they have the weapons they have the O-line they have, and they have that bullshit ass QB sneak that is always resulting in points. But they're not a true Super Bowl winner, in my opinion.
Speaking of the QB sneak, I think DeAndre Swift might be the greatest running back at getting down to the 1 yard line that I've ever seen. I only say this because he's on my fantasy, and every time I see him get down to the one, I want to throw a brick at my TV because I know what's coming. I know he's not getting the touchdown. So, DeAndre Swift, man, I need you to start scoring the ball when you need to stop getting down to the 1 yard line. He did it twice last game, and it's frustrating. But
Telling you,
that's
they're
just
all in
that.
cahoots. They're all in cahoots. They got what? With Jalen Hurts, there's probably some incentive for rushing touchdowns in this contract. He's gonna give DeAndre Swift some money. Watch.
Yeah, well, he broke the record, so the record books will show it that he's the leader, rushing leader. But we all know the deal with that.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the things you got to put into context. And it's interesting because he doesn't even rush outside. Like, he doesn't scramble as much as he did last season. Like
Yeah,
we saw
not at
in the
all.
Super Bowl, he doesn't scramble. Like what he did in the Super Bowl, he has not done this season like at all.
But I think part of that is teams looking to take that away from him much more. The 49ers, they took that away. We saw him get 5 seconds in the pocket on certain plays.
Yeah.
Because they were literally taking away the scramble. They said you can BS around back there, but we're not gonna let you get downfield. So teams have been kind of taking that away lately. And but yeah, that was just a little tidbit because DeAndre Swift that made me upset a little bit.
Yeah, DeAndre. So he had a decent game. Yesterday. I think he had like 96 yards, like 20 carries.
Yeah,
and a touchdown.
he actually had a solid. Yeah, he did have a solid game. It was more so just the fact that they took, but to sum up everything about the Eagles, I agree with you. It's just unimpressive. They're not moving me. They're not moving really anybody right now. And we'll see what they do against the Cardinals, but that should have been a kill shot game. That should have been a game where you just stomp on the competition. And they failed to do that. Almost didn't even close out the game. So we'll have to see.
So it's the Eagles right now. They might not be spiraling, but they're still they still got a lot to figure out.
Yeah, they ain't going up.
Speaking of teams, they ain't going up. And speaking of teams that need to figure it out too, the Dallas Cowboys, another road loss.
NFC East.
Yep, another road loss for the Cowboys. They lost to the Miami Dolphins on Sunday, Christmas Eve, 22-20. It was a good game. It was a close game, obviously due to the score. It was a clean game. Like there was only one turnover in the game. It was a fumble by the Cowboys. Tua threw for 293 yards and a touchdown. Dak Prescott 253 yards and 2 touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb is just every time I watch him, I'm like, bro, he's catching everything that is being thrown at him. Like it's kind of crazy now. It was a great game in general, but the Cowboys losing on the road again. It's more offensively, they're having a lot of miscues and mistakes, and it's showing just ridiculous amounts on the road. At home, at AT&T Stadium, when you got 90,000 fans cheering y'all on and helping you get plays out and helping you conduct your offense, it's all easy. It's super simple. Like you said, Hall of Fame front runner Dak Prescott. As soon as he goes to the road, we saw against the Bills. We talked about it on last Tuesday. Have the Cowboys been figured out? I think the answer is yes, because it's on the road, which they're going to have to play in the playoffs. Pending the absolute 49ers and Eagles collapse, which we know is not going to happen. I don't know if they're going to be able to get it done. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's kind of the same. No, I don't really want to, but you want to say that this Cowboys team is different, that this is not the same Cowboys team. These woes are different. They're capable of overcoming on the road in the playoffs this year. I'm not seeing it. We know I saw a great breakdown from Dan Orlovsky and Ryan Clark on just why it seems that they can't get it going on the road, and it's consistent. It's not like this is it's not something that happens once. This is consistent. Their road timing and everything is just off. They absolutely are unable to function their offense at the same level when they're on the road compared to at home because of the crowd, because of the noise, because of the, I don't know if it's something they need to switch with the cadence, but they're not able to get that engine moving like it should, like they can at home. And so for the Cowboys, I don't want to say same old, but I do want to say same old. I don't think, depending on who they go against in the first round of the playoffs, I wouldn't even be comfortable, putting my money on them, because it's going to be a road game pending a collapse from the Eagles and the 49ers. And so on paper, this game was close. It was 20-22. They averaged 5.6 yards per play. The Dolphins averaged 5.9. They had 339 total yards. The Dolphins had 375, 19 first downs to 22 first downs. Everything on paper was close, but I think that difference of being an away game is literally the difference for them in this game.
And honestly, bro, the game was close on paper, like you said, and it shouldn't have been, though. It shouldn't. Like they got the Cowboys. They won a coin toss. They elected to receive. So clearly, the Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys wanted to go out and score first, set the tone early. Respectable. But guess what? They had a chance to score in the first quarter after they went for it on 4th and 2. Tony Pollard, he ran left from the 2-yard line and got stopped.
Bro, that was the worst.
Hit right to the corner.
Man, that was the worst goal line run I've ever seen in my life, bro.
He could have hit the pylon and scored. This man wanted to cut into the defense that was right in front of him.
And then when he did cut into the defense, and this is where I think the Cowboys actually missed Zeke a little bit more than they thought they would, because Tony Pollard doesn't have the power at the goal line to even. It wasn't even the fact that he cut in, which he should have just beat him to the pylon. You're not a power rusher. But even when he cut in, he ran into the defender pretty much on the goal line and got turned backwards.
His feet were inside or were in the end zone, but the ball was faced in the opposite direction. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, man, I'm not gonna lie. When I watched that play, I was in awe. I was like, bro, what just happened? But yeah, that like stuff like that is where it's like, like, come on.
And then it turned into a fumble. Dak Prescott fumbled the handoff to his fullback. Guess what? Now the Dolphins got it, and they're going to go down and score. So 15 plays, 73 yards, 0 points.
Yeah, and it's things like that where that's been a consistent thing. That's not something that's new. And like the turnover woes, specifically fumbles, they don't even get as many interceptions. That was something we said about Dak. He's cut down on the interceptions, but just drive killers, red zone turnovers, things of that sort, they don't work in the playoffs, or they're tough to overcome in the playoffs. And when you think about games coming down to one possession, that's one possession right there. Even if you got 3 there, they win this game. So yeah, there's just Cowboys have some stuff to work on. Yeah,
and we gave CeeDee Lamb his praise earlier with the amount of yards he racked up against the Dolphins, 118 yards. But I mean, most of the yards came in like the first quarter. He didn't get targeted, or he didn't get a catch until like the fourth. After that, we went like the whole second and third quarter without getting looked at. And of course, your defensive coordinators. I think his defensive coordinator was Vic Fangio for the Dolphins. You're getting paid to do this, but like, let's still know, like, calling the offense for the Dallas Cowboys, when you have a receiver the caliber of CeeDee Lamb, I don't care who's on him, Xavier Howard, Jalen Ramsey, I don't care. Find him the ball. Like, am I wrong in saying that? Give your top tier receiver a
top
chance.
3. At this point, he's a top 3 receiver in the league. I could say that comfortably, and definitely top 5. And it's all about getting the ball in the hands of your playmakers, because he's dangerous. As dangerous as he is before the catch, he's dangerous after catch. Yesterday he had a great run after catch for the touchdown that he scored. So I'd have to look at the actual screen rate numbers for the Cowboys, but I don't think I see them running a lot of screens as opposed to someone like the Ravens, the 49ers, who seemingly always find a way to just get the ball in the hands of the players that can do things with the ball.
Yeah. And it was, it was just a microcosm of a lot of things. Like, Tyron Smith, he got hurt in that Bills game, so he was out against the Dolphins. And that definitely proved to be dastardly because, boy, Bradley Chubb was on their ass. He was on Dak Prescott ass, bro. I can't remember how many sacks he racked up.
I don't know how many he had, but they had 4 sacks. Dak Prescott got sacked 4 times.
4 times. Okay, so see that clearly most of those came from the left side where Tyron Smith was absent. Dolphins, they look good. Tua, he had an overall clean game. Do you think the Dolphins are real contenders? Like, it was a close game against the Cowboys. They've had problems, or they've had some questionable losses this season already. Do you think the Dolphins are real contenders in the AFC?
I think I would say yes. I would say yes. That is always it's easier to, look at this team while they're not, because I think at their best they are one of the premier offenses in the league. And I think it's a little bit different going, because you can't make a mistake to that offense, right? If you make a mistake and play Tyreek wrong, if you make a mistake and play Waddle wrong, they're gonna punish you. And I think just that overall, it's like a secret weapon, right? That hidden hand that they have, that if you mess up your coverage at all, they can hit you with that, like it's like having a deadly uppercut that someone can bust out at any time, right?
Mm-hmm.
They can, if you, like I've said it, but if you make a mistake to that offense, they're going to take the top off. And I think just having that ability, and then having Mostert in the backfield, having Devon in the backfield, like I trust them. I trust that formula in the playoffs, because I think taking advantage of what teams give you is going to, and I think Tua is good enough. Like I know there's a lot of talks about Tua, game manager this, not as good this, but I think Tua is a good quarterback, and I think he's able to make teams pay for this. So I would put them in contentionship. I wouldn't put them on the same tier of contentionship as some of the other team, Ravens, 49ers, but I would still put them on that level of contenders.
Well, they have a big game next week. On next Sunday, they have to play the Ravens. That's a very big game.
Play everybody.
Yeah, it's a very big game for both teams, but I think it means more for the Dolphins than the Ravens, because, like I said, the Ravens they're rolling right now. I think their confidence is high. They know that their defense is palpable, and their offense is just as good. They have explosive power just like the Dolphins. Obviously not a deep threat to the degree of Tyreek Hill, but they got weapons there too. They ain't backing down. You know what I'm saying? You toe sticks, I toe sticks too. So they're like, look, you know what I'm saying? We ready for it. So it's gonna be a big game for the Dolphins, because they also got to play the Bills on the last week of the season in January.
Got a little gauntlet, and I started playing.
So this is going to be a very, going from the Cowboys to the Ravens to the Bills. It can be either a really good thing or a really bad thing for them, and it all depends on how they play. Stay healthy. There is no room for mistakes. No room for mistakes, because you don't want your opponents in the playoff. First, you don't want to fall down any more seeds than you have to. You want to try to get a home game in a wild card, especially since you still can win the entire conference. There is no room for mistakes, and you don't want to fall down any more seeds than what you possibly can.
And actually, next week will have pretty big playoff implications as well, because if they beat the Ravens, then they'll have the tiebreaker over the Ravens.
Yeah, exactly. So they can very well win the entire AFC. So it's going to be interesting. And that's a game we're going to be keeping our close eye on. I know we got red zone, but I might have to just dedicate to that. That's gonna be a
we're
good
getting
game.
down to the NFL witching hour.
Yeah,
The
it's across the whole league.
the season witching hour, because there's going to be a lot of movement in the standings. We're going to see a lot of teams that we thought would make the playoffs slip out. We're going to see teams that we thought had no chance slip in. It's definitely getting close, and it's definitely getting close. And I think there's a lot of, I think there's going to be a lot of unexpectedness going into these next 2 weeks, because even more so than other years, because we don't have the standalone dominant teams that we've had in the past. I mean, even right now, the best teams could do, the Ravens and Ravens, 49ers, Eagles, the best they can all do is 14 wins. And 14-3, that was that was the best record last year, but it just feels like there's no room for mistakes for anybody that's not clinched right now.
Yeah. And it's going to be very interesting to see these man. We're going to the NFL madness is picking up. It's picking up. It's going strong.
It's going crazy.
And just to really, our next topic to just really show, our next team we're going to talk about, just to show how crazy the season has been. The Detroit Lions have won their division for the first time since 1993, over 30 years. 30 years.
Congratulations to them, man.
My mom was 20 in college last time they won their division. That is crazy. So they beat the Minnesota Vikings 30-24.
On that team?
That's a good question. All I know is Barry Sanders, and that's it. I don't know anybody else on that damn Lions team.
That's literally, I don't know who's quarterback.
And that just goes to show the Lions definitely, they still got a lot of questions, honestly, bro. Like I don't look at them as a real contender right now. If you look at how close this game was, 30-24, and the Vikings only mustered 17 rushing yards. Yeah, Nick Mullins threw for 411 yards, 4 interceptions, but clearly he was just slinging that mob, man. He was 30-24. And the Vikings only had 17 rushing yards as a team, 19 total first downs, 4 turnovers. Like, if you look at this, there's no reason why this game should be that close. But, congratulations to the Lions. Like I said, I don't see them as a real contender yet. I like Jared Goff. He's doing his thing. He's playing the role he needs to play. But once we start talking about him with the caliber of quarterbacks in the NFC that he'll have to play, Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy, and then the caliber of defenses he's going to have to play those 3 as well. Do I see the Lions realistically beating any of those teams? I do, but it will be by the seat of their pants again. But not like I wouldn't be comfortable betting on it. I won't feel comfortable betting on it. Like the same thing with the Lions secondary. They got all those interceptions, but you got 411 yards on your head. By Nick Mullins. And you're, like I said, these other quarterbacks, like the way Dak Prescott's been playing this year, the way Jalen Hurts has been, the way Brock Purdy has been playing this year, they're not going to be they're not going to be throwing 4 interceptions. I don't care what the past game showed. Brock Purdy ain't going to do that shit again.
Yeah.
So it's the Lions still got a lot to work on as a unit. But the fact that they won a division, the fact that they're going to be in the playoffs 100% for the first time since about 2013, that's a win. This is a win of a season.
Dan Campbell's in second season?
The second or third. I think it's the second, yeah.
Like, this is you don't want to settle and say but there's definitely, this is a win of a season. Just the fact that you won the division for the first time in 30 years is something that, hang your hat on. And I think for the Lions, even though they're better record-wise, better personnel-wise, I think they're kind of in the same boat as the Texans, where you just got to play like you got nothing to lose, because you have nothing to lose. Nobody expected you to be here, or not many people expected you to be here. Just go out. Jared Goff, I mean, at this point, he's had a career revival in Detroit. Jahmyr Gibbs is having a great rookie season. David Montgomery's doing his thing. Amon-Ra is one of the premier receivers in the league. They have the talent, especially on offense. Sewell on the offensive line. They have the talent where, at their best, they can run it up on a lot of good teams. And I think they've just got to play. Dan Campbell's got to rally the troops, and he's one of the best in the league at doing it. And just let them know that they've, at the end of the day, this season is a W season in totality, and just play like you've got nothing to lose, because you don't really have much to lose.
No, what's really cool is that Dan Campbell, he was on the roster when they went 0-16 back in like 2008. He was employed, he was playing, he was padding up, and was on the 0-16 Lions roster. And I just think that's one of the a really cool story in the NFL. Yeah, that is cool. That you've seen the worst of the worst.
Yeah, he came out
as a head, and then you're a head coach of the same team. Look, if I'm playing for Dan Campbell, man, I've seen this. He's experienced the gutters for real.
In the trenches, right? He came back and bought the hood. He fucking came back and bought the hood, built the hood up, built some homes in the hood, man.
Yeah, so everything that he says, I'm listening and I'm playing absolutely my best I can, 100% effort. Because bro, that's the least you can do for someone who has literally seen it all for this franchise. Seen it all. Seen the worst. Last season when they started 1-6, he's literally have been a part of so many different storylines that a team can have in a season. And now to win the division for the first time in 30 years, very impressive. Congratulations. That's some real shit.
And I will say one thing about the Vikings. He was hurt for a while, so a lot of people forgot. But Justin Jefferson is still him. Justin Jefferson is still top one, at worst, top two receiver in this league. And
not just that, though. He deserves better.
Yeah. It's not – well, the thing is, him and Kirk had an insane connection, and Kirk was on his way. Honestly, I can confidently say when you look at the actual numbers, Kirk was on his way to having a better season than anybody right now. Like the actual numbers, like yards per game, what he was projected based on what he's done, he was on his way to having an MVP type season. And Justin Jettas looks like he loves Kirk. Like honestly, like they have a great connection. I don't know if you saw in the tunnel before. Kirk actually held the boom box for Jettas to run out to. And so they have a great connection. And so I don't want to break that up, but I do think he deserves better because he is the top dog in the league at the receiver position. And, you just want to see what he can do on a team that has a legit chance.
Yeah, and that's all I'm asking for too. If you really think Kirk Cousins can be the guy, that's fine. But you need to build the rest of the roster around it. Like you got to give him a cushion too. Running back, cornerback, your DBs are trash.
It's number two receiver or Jordan.
Yeah, like someone else.
But still a solid number two. They got TJ Hawkinson, so they got a good tight end, but they got a great O-line, great tight end, great receiver one, but defense is shoddy. No running back. If they can, like you said, they just need to build the roster. If Kirk is the guy, right? And I do think Kirk can be the guy. I think Kirk is a lot different than his days from the when he was the Commanders quarterback. I think he's no longer just a guy that you throw in to game manage. I think he can actually be an elevator, a floor raiser, and a ceiling raiser. But they've got to find a way. KOC is a pretty good coach. I like Kevin O'Connell, but they've got to find a way to build that roster so that everything isn't just Kirk to Jettas.
Right.
And nothing else. And then literally getting outscored on defense every game.
Yeah. And that's my problem because, bro, Justin Jefferson carries them to that barely a loss last week. He carried them like 141 yards, only 6 receptions and a touchdown in the fourth quarter. He was catching everything.
I don't know if you
Yeah,
saw that one play where the crazy reception that he had over 2 defenders.
Yeah. So it's what he does is ridiculous. He gives you a chance to win games. You need to do him justice and finish it out. And what year is he in now? Third or fourth year?
I think this was his third. I don't know. Actually, I don't remember.
I would personally just like to see him.
I'm sorry, this is his 4th year.
I would like to see him do more, or and earn more chances at success. Rather, I don't want to say do more. Earn more chances at success.
Do more.
Yeah, you can't do more than what he's been doing. Like, just give him a chance to earn some real success. So yeah, that's what the Vikings got to do. Vikings, they're not in a horrible position. They're not, but Kirk Cousins come back. I mean, they're still in. What's their record? They're still 7-8.
So they're mid right now, and that's without Kirk Cousins. And when Kirk was playing, they were doing solid. It was Kirk without Jettis for a long time, for a couple weeks. So I think they're in a solid. They have a foundation, right? They have playmakers, they have a couple playmakers that they can build on. They've got a great offensive line, which is one of the things I think it's better to start with, because I think once you have it from there, there's so much elite playmaking talent around the league to get.
Oh yeah, that much harder to find a good O-line.
Literally. So I think with Darisaw, I think what they just need to focus on getting another playmaker, especially at the running back position on offense, and then defensively, they've got some holes to fix. Their D-line is great, but their secondary is kind of cheese. Linebackers, so they're not in a bad position. They're kind of the Raiders of the NFC for me.
I can see that. Yeah, so I mean, like I said, it can be much worse as a team. I mean, we've seen them be much worse, actually. So, yeah, that's it. Good congratulations to the Lions. For real, though. Like, that's actually really crazy to see. I'm alive to see that the damn Lions won a division.
It's crazy.
Yeah, like, I'm sorry. I thought it was going to be horrible forever. There's a lot of things where I'm like, I think I'm going to die before I see. I think I'm going to die before I see the Falcons win a Super Bowl. I think I'm going to die before I see the Hawks win a Super Bowl. I think I'm going to die before the Browns win a Super Bowl as well, before they even make a conference championship, actually. I hope I die before I see the Jazz win something. It's a lot. I could really go out like this all day. Honestly, there's so much, and I realistically see this stuff too. I'm like, man, it's just not meant to be. But the let's see what else, man. What do we want to talk about? Let's talk about the Steelers and the Bengals AFC North status, man. We already talked about the Browns and the Ravens. Might as well do justice and finish off with the Steelers and the Bengals in that division. Back on Saturday, December 23rd, it feels so far away. The Steelers beat the Bengals 34-11. That was a horrible, embarrassing loss for the Bengals. They played like some sissies. They did not want to get physical. And the pass rush completely had their way with Jake Browning. He threw 3 interceptions on the day. And the fact that Joe Burrow's out for the season and they're not going to, there is no savior coming to help them. They're 4th in the AFC North by the tiebreakers and the statistics and all. They're tied with the Steelers as far as record shows, but they're 4th in the division. If they think about making the playoffs, they're gonna have to step it up and play.
I might be cooked. I'm gonna be honest. Like,
I do think so.
I just don't know. Like, I don't know how long Jamar Chase is gonna be out. I don't know if that's a one game thing. Obviously, no disrespect to Jake Browning, but he's not the guy.
Nope.
He's decent. He's solid. He's a good backup, but he's not the guy. They what looks like you said, they're 4th in the division, even with the same record, and it looks like they don't have the tiebreaker over many people. I'd have to double check that, but it doesn't look like they have it over many people. So, I don't know if even if they win out, I don't even know if that's good enough to make the playoffs for them. So at this point, making the playoffs relies on other people losing. That's you never want to be in that position. And I think even if they make the playoffs, realistically, what are they doing? Away game, Jake Browning quarterback. I don't even know when Jamar Chase comes back. I just don't see this team having any serious motion.
Not at all. It's very interesting because considering that the Bengals, the last 2 seasons they've been on top of the AFC North, without question. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon in them. They all were able to. Eli Apple. They were all able to.
He on the Dolphins now too. But I think he cut out real quick. Looks like he's cut out. But yeah, Mason Rudolph had a decent game. 17 to 27, 290 yards, 2 touchdowns. George Pickens, apparently he listened to the show because he came out, had a career game. I had him benched in fantasy because he'd been playing like trash and he wanted to come out and show out. So George Pickens, shout out to you for listening to hear me roar because I know you came out and did your thing. But sorry, you cut out real quick. Yeah,
I'm still sick of this internet, bro. All day, all morning, we've been trying to record this goddamn episode, and every time we've had to start over because of these connections. We're an hour and 30 into this episode. We're definitely not restarting this shit. So I excuse the interruptions. I excuse any buffering or any stuttering that might have happened. I'm gonna work on, recording this from home with and a mother and. Probably not. There's already not the best internet. It's just one of those things that we just gonna have to deal with. So I apologize.
We'll be a lot better once we're back in the studio, back in GSU's library. But thank you for working with us through the connectivity issues.
Yeah. Look, man, I told you, Human Roar is a long-term endeavor. You're gonna see us at our lows, and you're gonna see us at our highs. And right now, we're not. These aren't even lows. These are just we're working out the kinks. We're trying to figure out everything going on. We're just working everything out. Yeah, setting stuff up because before it was we weren't. I wasn't taking it. I was taking it seriously, but not too seriously. But now, but I'm saying 2 episodes a week, some good guests, some good content, some good breakdowns and analysis, some entertainment. We're starting to get on a roll and snowball this into the best sports show in the world, because that's the goal. So it's gonna happen. Y'all just stay tuned. I heard you were talking about George Pickens and his great game that he had. That boy turned into Antonio Brown in a good way. 2015 Antonio Brown before the CTE, before
specify what Antonio Brown we're talking about.
Before the absurd antics by him. Yeah, George Pickens, he showed out for sure. It was a great game by him. He had how many yards? 4 catches for 195 and 2 touchdowns.
Career game for sure.
Very impressive.
48 yards.
Mason Rudolph. And Mason Rudolph throwing him the ball. That was a great game from him. Last time he was in the news he was getting smacked upside the head with
skull bashed in.
Yeah, he was getting his skull bashed in by Myles Garrett. So that's how long ago it's been since we talked about Mason Rudolph. So great game by him. And the Bengals, considering that they were just on top of the AFC 2 years last year, the year before that, their fall off has been crazy to see. They're no longer at the top. And I know injuries, but this season at least, just even from the jump, they hadn't been playing well. It's just been kind of crazy to see how quickly the tide can turn. And now we're looking at Lamar Jackson. I need some wood. Lamar Jackson is healthy.
Pause. Hold on.
That's crazy. That's hard. That's horrible. That's wild as shit. I ain't gonna lie. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's why I'm sorry, y'all. That's not my behavior. I don't know. That's crazy. Anyways, what I meant to say is I need to knock on some wood because Lamar Jackson is healthy. Most of the Ravens team is healthy. Let's hope. What's his name? Ronnie Stanley can stay healthy. Let's hope Mark Andrews can come back in time for a deep playoff run. Let's hope that OBJ and the rest of the unit stays healthy. Let's hope Kyle Hamilton. I'm not sure. He went down pretty hard last night. I'm not sure if the injuries reported.
Harbaugh said he was feeling optimistic about everyone that got hurt, including Kyle. He said he doesn't think it's serious. So
perfect, because Kyle Hamilton had himself a day last night. So hopefully everybody can stay healthy on that team, and because we could have been looking at a different AFC North last year if Lamar Jackson was healthy. We could be looking at a different AFC North the year before that if Lamar Jackson was healthy and all the team could just stay intact. So yeah, it's just very interesting to see how quickly the tide can change in the division. The Bengals haven't won a game in the AFC North. They're 0-5 against teams in the AFC North. That's bad. So they don't got the tiebreaker against anybody in that division, and they have the same record as one of the teams in there. So that's just sorry. So this version of the Bengals is very bad. They got a lot to work on. Even when Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase come back. It just goes to show you that ain't nothing guaranteed in this league. Ain't nothing guaranteed in this league. You can be in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and you can be in the conference championship last year, and now you can be two of the either mid or worst teams in the league. Chiefs just mid. They were in the conference championship last year. Now this year, look at them, Bengals too. So it's just really cool. It just shows you how the pendulum swing that can occur in the NFL.
Literally, and because especially in the playoffs, everything is single elimination. It's not always going to be the best team that wins out. It's just about who can lock in,
right?
Because you don't get 3 games to make up if you drop a game like in the NBA and MLB. So you really got to be on top of your A game at all times. And like you said, you see a season can turn around just like this, So it's and it's a fast moving league, maybe the fastest moving league, because you see great teams can be on the bottom the very next year and vice versa. So
absolutely. And before my internet starts twerking again, let's just summarize the rest of these games that we haven't covered yet. We want to go too in depth because I dead as if another long outage like that happens, there's going to be a felony committed not too far away from my house. The Packers beat the Panthers 33-30 on Sunday. I skipped Bills and Chargers 24-22. Why is that game close? That's another one of those things where it's like, dude, you just the Chargers just got off of getting beat 63-20.
They almost lost that game. They were down, or not almost lost, but they were down 10-0 in the second quarter.
Like that's another one of those games I was talking about earlier with the attitude. That's a game where you should have came in and punched them in the mouth and just Easton Stick. Should I say more? Like, need I say more?
No Keenan Allen. No Keenan Allen to throw to. The best receiver was
Joshua Palmer.
Yeah, like what are we doing here?
That game shouldn't be close. Josh Allen throwing more interceptions. What's new? But like I said, the Bills too. Same thing with their fall off. I mean, going into the season, I had no faith. Last year, I was like, okay, the Bills are gonna be my pick. The Bills are gonna be my pick to make it to the Super Bowl. They're who I'm rolling with. This year, bro, I went into the season like, man, the Bills are just the Bills, bro. It's about time we start talking about Josh Allen and who he is as a quarterback and what level he's on. But I think we said that a couple episodes ago. But yeah, they barely got away with the win. They have to play the Dolphins next, I believe.
That's 2 games.
No, yeah, the 2 games. So Bills schedule, they're going to have to play
next week.
The
Patriots this week. So
the Patriots might actually mess around and win that game, bro.
They beat them earlier in the year.
Yeah,
but it is in Buffalo this time. So
we'll see how that goes. The Bills actually do play pretty well at home. Beat the Cowboys at home last week. Speaking of the Patriots, they beat the Broncos on Sunday Night Football on Christmas Eve. Broncos, bro. We give them praise, and they come back the next week and just completely makes me regret everything I said. They lost 26-23. Both of these teams, bro. It was just such a cluster, you know what, of a game. Just seeing these two teams, especially in prime time, seeing these two teams go at it, and the fact that the Patriots are still finding a way to get these wins against these teams that are in the playoffs. Bailey Zappi, I don't know.
I told you, man. I got you the jersey.
Yeah. Noble got me a signed Bailey Zappi
Bailey.
jersey for Christmas. I'm gonna have to go pick that up soon.
But the Broncos, they're not gonna do anything until they get a playmaker. They don't have any playmaker. I've almost never seen an offense that is this level. That shout out Russell Wilson for this, because they don't have like their best receiver, Cortland Sutton. First off, he got hurt last night with a concussion. And then running back. Who is the running back one? I don't even know. I think Jaleel McLaughlin is the RB1, but what are you doing with that? Like you can't do anything with that.
Jaleel McLaughlin is crazy.
Wide receiver wise, they got Jerry Jeudy. He's decent, but he's not a one. Cortland Sutton's decent. He's not a one. Tight end, I don't even know who they have starting at tight end. It's Lucas Kroll. Yeah, I don't know who that is.
I'm gonna hold you. I'm not even gonna say Jerry Jeudy is decent. That boy is just the definition of disappointing.
Yeah. Just so literally, last year we were hard on the Broncos because of Russell Wilson having that huge contract. This year, it's kind of just been more apparent that it's not a Russ thing. They just don't have an offense like that. If you were to close your eyes outside of Jerry Jeudy, because he was a first rounder, and because of how good he was at Alabama, you ask the casual fan to name players on that offense, I guarantee you they're not getting past Russell Wilson. They have no talent for real, like no serious elevating talent outside of Russell Wilson on that offense. And credit to him for making do with what he's got, but it's the defense and the Russell Wilson show. And outside of that, it's just they don't have the ability to, if they even make the playoffs at this point. They're 7-8, so I don't even know.
And you got the playoffs on the line, and you go into it's a home game, and you look very unprepared. And you go against a bad team, the Patriots, a team that is known to not score the ball. And you let them go up 23-7, and by the third quarter. So how, like, you know what I'm saying? How serious do you want us to take you? That's just my question to them. Like, if you're not prepared for a bad football team with the playoffs on the line, you don't deserve the playoffs.
And they got the Chargers next week at home again, but I can't see. I can't pick a winner in that game.
Me neither.
Chargers just had a decent game against the Bills, and the Broncos just I can't count on them. I can't count on them at all. And then in week 18, they also play the Raiders, who I can confidently pick the Raiders in that one, because the Raiders with Antonio Pierce and just how they've been playing, I would go the Raiders in that game as well. So honestly, at this point, I don't even have the Broncos making the playoffs.
For sure. What's your thoughts on the Patriots? Like, do you think Bailey Zappi's a guy with Bill Belichick? Like, what is next for New England?
What's next for New England? I don't know what they're going to do with Bill. I think it was earlier. We were kind of saying they might need to part ways. I don't know. I don't think that they need to, because I think he still has one more year on his contract. So I think you let the contract play out bare minimum. I definitely don't think you fire Bill, but that's, even if he was bad, that's just bad optics for this such a historic coach. You don't want to fire him unless there's a scandal, right? Like, you let his contract play out just out of respect for what he's done for the franchise. And it's not even like he's a bad coach now. They just don't have the talent. And so I think they let that contract play out. Bailey Zappi is not the guy. Mac Jones is definitely not the guy.
That man.
defensively, they've got a lot to look for. Their defense is solid. They've got
Yeah.
a solid defense. Even with Christian Gonzalez out for the year, he tore his ACL earlier in the year. He was playing great. So they've got stuff to look for defensively. Offensively, they are nothing. They don't have anything on the offense to be praiseworthy. No quarterback, no running back. Ramondre Stevenson was decent last year. I don't know what exactly happened, but I think that's just from the whole offense not being able to move. No quarterback, no running back, no wide receiver 1, no wide receiver, barely wide receiver 2, no tight end, or Hunter Henry's decent, but
yeah, Hunter Henry, yeah, no, come on now.
offensive line is solid, so I'll give them that. But they honestly need to spend every single draft pick on an offensive player.
Yeah, and they need to restructure everything about that team. They haven't found any success since Tom Brady left. I don't know if it has to do with coaching. I don't know if it has to deal with the scheme. I think no, that has to do with the scheme, but I don't know if it has to do with like what they want out of that Patriots team. You can't replace Tom Brady.
They kind of put all their cards into Mac Jones being the next one, the next Brady, the next guy.
And they want him to play like Brady. That's not going to happen.
Exactly. And especially not without a real wide receiver 1, right? Like I can't even rag on Mac Jones too much because who is he throwing the ball to? Like,
hey, you can't, but I can. Mac Jones is trash. Mac Jones is not a good quarterback because even in games that it's like, well, okay, we still got a chance. The bro throws the interception. The man tosses the interception.
He beat the Bills this year.
There's no Mac Jones sympathy on this show. Mac Jones, you need to go ahead and stay on the bench with your wide hip ass. You need to stay on the bench, and maybe you can get thrown in as a backup. The fact that I don't like though. I'll just say I don't like how they flip flop quarterbacks. I hate that shit. When Arthur Smith did it with Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke.
I know you don't like it.
Yo, it's so annoying. Find somebody and roll with them. And clearly, if they're playing bad, do so. But don't go 2 games with one quarterback and then do another game with him and then do another game with another. Like, dog, find somebody and roll with them, bro.
Speaking of the Falcons.
You know what I'm saying? We got a pretty impressive win, 29-10 over the Colts. It was a solid game overall. Our defense, Jesse Bates, goated. Taylor Heineke, he had a good game too. We beat the team we were supposed to beat. Honestly, I know the Colts are in the playoffs technically, and we're not, but
at this point, I have no idea with the AFC South because
the Jags too.
Texans and Colts are all 8-7.
Yeah,
so that division is
weird.
wide open. But yeah, Young Hoku 5 for 5 on field goals. Young sniper.
Bijan Robinson, he led the team in rushing and receiving. I'm still very, very, very just irritated with irritated with play calling. I'm irritated with the lack of involvement of our receivers. Kyle Pitts had 3 receptions for 49 yards. Drake London 3 receptions for 39 yards. I would just like to see, I would like to just see, there's no reason Bijan Robinson is getting targeted 10 times over our 2 first-round draft picks with actual receivers. And so it's still things that I can nitpick at, but I'm gonna take what I can. The Saints lost. Unfortunately, the Buccaneers beat the Jaguars, and they continue to hold that number 1 seed in the NFC South. But I'll take what I can. 29-10 win. Who we have to play next week? We have to play where's my schedule at?
Next
week we have to play the Bears.
The Bears should win that game, but I can't confidently say. Maybe tell Justin Fields to not even get a flight back, man. Just go ahead and buy an apartment out here while he's here.
Honestly, because we talking about a quarterback situation. We don't have a single reasonable option to go into next year with Taylor Heineke. He's a great backup. I've always said that about him. He's a gamer. He's going to get you into games, and he's going to put his body on the line to win games. I like the way he plays. He can still be careless with the ball at times, but I can't say that about his win last week against the Colts. He didn't turn the ball over. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. He moved the ball upfield, and slowly but surely, you racked up yards, and it turned into a very dominant game. More so, thanks to our defense. Defense really went crazy. We just ate Gardner Minshew up. Like, he didn't give him no we didn't give him no opportunity to the internal clock in my head, the internal voice in my head said pause, because he knew that shit was crazy. But it was our defense really did our thing. We forced multiple punts, interception in the fourth quarter to really put the seal on the game. Multiple 4-down outs. Yeah, it's a great game overall. Not too much to say. Colts, will they choke their attempt at getting to the playoffs just like they did in 2021? Possibly.
Yeah, but when you look at the roster for real, they really shouldn't even be making the playoffs. So I mean,
Very true, yeah.
I'd like to see the fight. I'd like to see them fight to get in. But even if they get in, what are they gonna do? Not much really. But yeah, we'll see how. Like we said, it's getting down to that time in the NFL where everything is gonna be moving. There's gonna be in and out. Teams that aren't supposed to make it are gonna make it, or teams that didn't look like they were going to make it 3 weeks ago are going to get in, and vice versa. So we'll see how that pans out. A couple of other games left. Packers beat the Panthers 33-30. Bryce Young had a pretty decent game. 2 touchdowns, 312 yards. Jordan Love had a good game. 3 total touchdowns. I do still think Bryce Young is a solid quarterback. I think once they get him some real help, he'll look way different. But he had a solid game.
I definitely. I didn't watch the game, but 33-30, Carolina's just playing to bust some brackets.
Records.
They're just
home
playing
records right now.
Yeah, they're just playing ruin the lives of some fans of opposing teams.
They play the Jaguars. They play the Jaguars next week, so that could really mess them up.
Oh, that can for real be, yeah. And they've been playing hard. They 30 points. That's some. They after they just scored 9 against us, they dropped 30. And they were in the game the whole way. Seahawks, they beat the Titans 20-17. I think I did catch the end of that game. I did catch the end of that. That Geno Smith is back in the lineup.
Yeah, I was gonna say Geno came back, had a decent game.
Yeah, and the Tennessee, I didn't know that Derrick Henry is a free agent this summer. So we might be looking at him on another team. That might have been one of his final home games.
Which might be, or I don't know. For me, if you're Tennessee, I think they should have traded him at the deadline. Like, there was talks, there was rumors that he might get traded. I didn't realize he was in the final years of his contract season. So now you're about to lose. You might lose your best offensive talent for nothing.
Right.
And they look like they need to go into rebuild mode. And you normally start that with picks. But now you don't trade away your top talent. You get nothing back for him. And you go into rebuild mode with nothing. So that's just front office mismanagement. We'll have to see how that goes. If they manage to re-sign him, who they're going to have at quarter, or Will Levis. Ryan Tannehill got the start. Will Levis was he hurt? Was that what happened?
I'm not sure. Ryan Tannehill is so mediocre. I don't know why the Titans still have such an obsession with him. Excuse me. I don't know why they have such an obsession with him. It's frustrating, especially being a young quarterback. It's like that's the same shit I'm talking about. Why are you rolling with him? Ryan Tannehill wasn't winning you games. It was Will Levis that was. Stop doing that. The Titans are just so content on throwing their season away, clearly. They won 5 games this year. Ryan Tannehill was responsible for like 1 of them. 2 of them, maybe. So that was, Titans, about that thing with Derrick Henry, you would have wanted to trade him to get something, especially with how their season was going by the trade deadline. Like
Yeah.
Titans are just need to go in rebuild mode. That's what it says. That's what it needs to be, honestly. The Buccaneers beat the Jaguars. Jaguars continue to spiral out of control. Trevor Lawrence suffered a sprained right shoulder. It's not meant to be a major injury after the MRI, but it's unclear how it affects his availability. He's been hurt all season. He's been playing through it. Hopefully he progresses and he can able to keep his team alive for the playoffs. Because right now, like you said, that's the most wide open division there is, most likely, probably, with as far as record and possibility of what team makes the playoffs is concerned. Definitely the AFC South. Their safety, Daniel Thomas, broke his forearm on Sunday, so he's going to be out for the foreseeable future. And they only scored 12 points against the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are starting to find their groove with Baker Mayfield at quarterback. Lord have mercy.
Part of that is Mike Evans being who he is. 7 catches, 86 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's a Hall of Famer. He's had one of the quietest careers. Like when you think people don't put him in the talks that his numbers put him in. And I think he's just been underrated pretty much his whole career. Almost 1,000-yard season. What I think every season except his rookie year.
Yeah.
And just Baker, I'm glad that he's able to find success with them. If I'm a Browns fan, I might be kicking myself a little bit because it wasn't, seeing that success clearly shows that A, he might have just needed to change the scenery, but B, he wasn't as bad as it made him seem in Cleveland. And so, I mean, both parties are having their own success. Baker's having his success, Browns having their success. So at the end, it looks like it might work out for both people, both parties. But he's finding his stride with that offense. That connection with Mike Evans has just been growing all season. And great game last week, perfect passer rating. Great game this week. It looks like the Bucs might be the NFC South winners. We'll have to see how they fare against the Panthers in Week 18, and then who do they play this week? The Saints.
Next week, yeah. Saints, yeah.
We'll see.
They're on a 4-game win streak, and Baker Mayfield. Maybe all you needed was an actual head coach and an actual offensive coordinator, and he found his success. 3,500 passing yards, almost 3,600. He's keeping keeping it relatively clean. I will say though, there's still a little bit of questions of if you really put the pressure on him and you frustrate him, just pressuring him before he throws, what will he do? He's still prone to make some mistakes that a quarterback that's been in the league as long as he has shouldn't make. But considering the state of his career last year, he was with the Panthers and the Rams before that, this is probably or the Panthers and then the Rams rather. He's having a great season, and I can't hate on them too much. We beat them, they beat us. We should have beat them twice, but hopefully the Saints can get something going as we beat the Bears next week. Hopefully, and we can kind of ease our way up into the first seed. With that, and then the Bears beat the Cardinals. I'm not speaking on that.
Okay.
With that, we're gonna wrap up this episode. It's about 1:40 p.m. We got a couple of good games next week. Cowboys versus Lions on Saturday.
Yeah. Dolphins, Ravens.
49ers. We'll see how they bounce back against the Commanders. Texans, Titans. Hopefully CJ Stroud comes back and they can get a win in their division.
See if the Eagles dominate the Cardinals like they should.
They should.
Saints,
and they're gonna be
Buccaneers
home.
have big playoff implications for the NFC South.
Damn, there's so many games on Sunday.
Seahawks, Steelers. That's a good playoff game. Good playoff implication game. Yeah, interesting game for sure. Bengals,
Broncos,
Chiefs,
Chargers, Chiefs, Bengals, and Vikings, Packers.
Yeah, that's a lot of good games. Like I said, it feels like every team is middle of the pack right now. Like everybody's 8-7, 7-8. So you got a lot of we've said it a million times. Lots of playoff movement coming in these last 2 weeks.
Yep. especially with that Miami-Baltimore game. It's crazy that that's a 1 o'clock game. Uh, Miami's 11-4, Baltimore's 12-3. We'll see how
Jets
that plays out.
Browns is the Thursday night.
Yeah, that's
But Lions
insane.
Cowboys is by itself on Saturday night, so you get a little bit of prime. You get that prime time.
Yeah, that's gonna be a good game. I don't know who I'm gonna pick in that one. It's gonna be at home at Cowboys, so we know how good the Cowboys are at AT&T Stadium. But honestly, too, bro, with the Browns and the Jets, I'm gonna see how many yards Joe Flacco racks up. I'm gonna put some money on that game. I'm gonna put some money on the 300+ yard game for Joe Flacco. Let's see if I can get some late Christmas money.
Who did the Jets? They played the Commanders. Oh, they beat the Commanders last week.
Yeah, barely 30-28. That was actually a very crazy game because the Commanders almost came back.
Oh yeah,
I
remember that now. Actually, I remember that one. That completely slipped my mind because it's irrelevant. But yeah, I remember what happened in that one.
Did you know that the Cleveland Browns Stadium is called Cleveland Browns Stadium?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they don't got a sponsor.
It's just paid for by the state.
Yeah, clearly.
Team, I guess I don't know what to do with.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
But that's one of the better home venues, though, in terms of crowd or just in terms of home crowds. That crowd supported that team when they were terrible. I mean, look at what the Panthers are terrible, and we saw what they looked like against the Falcons.
Tickets were going for like $4.
And then the crowd was half empty. The stadium was half empty. So that franchise is, like we said way earlier, I wouldn't want to go to the Cleveland Browns Stadium to play a playoff game.
Not at all. It's going to be week 17, man, coming down to the wire. We got a lot of football. Next, we're going to have another episode Thursday. We're going to see what come up. We'll see what the sports world brings us as far as stories. We're talking about some basketball. Talk about whatever. Honestly, I don't care. We're just gonna be back here on Thursday, so y'all tune in.
Have real quick, who do you have for Coach of the Year? Because there's a lot
football. Let's see. That's actually a good question. Of course, we know D'Amico Ryans has to be thrown in there. Of course, Kyle Shanahan.
I think Harbaugh can be thrown in there at this point.
John Harbaugh.
I would say
honestly, those are my three.
Yeah, I would say it comes under those three. Would you say? Nah, I wouldn't say much. Sean McVay, but
you know he's playing very well now.
I would say for me, it comes down to those three. I think it depends. We'll see how the season finishes out. Honestly,
Dan Campbell too. Shit.
Dan Campbell, yeah, I forgot about Dan Campbell. I knew it was one more. Yeah, between those four, we'll really have to see what these last 2 weeks play out. But right now, honestly, I might lean Harbaugh. I'll say like Harbaugh, Campbell, Shanahan, D'Amico.
Yeah, I'm gonna say D'Amico is probably not gonna win it because the record. He's gonna have to like win very dominantly in these last 2 games to really get real votes. Kyle Shanahan as well. Their loss against the Ravens has really screwed up a lot of voters for Christian McCaffrey for MVP, maybe definitely Brock Purdy, maybe even Kyle Shanahan for Coach of the Year. I think it was gonna come down. I'm gonna lean towards Dan Campbell. It might come down between Dan Campbell and John Harbaugh. It's gonna be between those two.
I think, but then that's storied. I think they might go Dan Campbell just because of how storied it is. First time.
I'm about to say, I think that him clinching that division, and especially if they get a win against the Cowboys, he can just go ahead and just give it to him. You don't even need no voting. It's a lot of great coaching. Sean McVay, gotta give him his props too.
I'm trying not to see it around.
Who is? Let me see.
Browns, Kevin Stefanski. I think Kevin Stefanski is the Browns head coach.
Yeah, him as well. Todd Bowles for the Buccaneers. Like, might not be coach of the year candidate, but just the way he's been playing.
Mike McDaniel.
Yeah, Mike McDaniels. Now, this has been a lot of great coaching. A lot of great coaching. And then there's been we need to do an opposite of great coaching and look at who's the most mediocre coaches in the league. Arthur Smith is taking that goddamn shit home and putting it on his mantle and being proud of it. He's going to polish that thing.
Brandon Staley until he got fired a week ago.
Brandon Staley. So really, those two are the leaders in that. Everyone else is kind of just average. Oh, what's that man's name for the Saints?
Oh man, I can't think of his name, bro.
Dennis Allen, that trash boat. Oh my goodness, should have brought Ronald on just for that one right there.
But yeah, there's been a lot of
Paul McDermott. He's got a lot of questions around him. Ron Rivera, he's out of
he's
there.
done. He's fried.
He's fried. Yeah.
He's fried.
He's toast. And so it's a lot of good coaching.
Yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to see wonder where you were at with that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and lean. I'm
gonna probably lean down, especially if they win this. We'll see. I think this week will be important for that race.
It will, yeah, because that's a big game with the Cowboys, and it's on the road.
Big game against the Dolphins.
Yeah, so that might really be deciding it. I mean, either one of them, they win or loss, they should both hold their heads high, really. With that, man, I think it's going to wrap up this episode of Hear Me Roar, episode 31. It was a good one, NFL Madness. We locking into the NFL season. We'll be back here Thursday. We'll chop it up. Yeah, so like I said, man, y'all like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, share it.
Thank you for your patience.
Your friends. Thank you, yeah, because, man, this internet stuff is frustrating. We're going to continue to get this set up better. Hopefully, we can we're going to continue to just bring more visuals, we're going to have our own Instagram, TikTok page, give y'all segments as well. So if y'all don't want to listen to the whole episode, break it up to segments, even though y'all should listen to the whole episode because everything we say is straight facts, straight intelligence. But just in case, I know y'all got an intelligence the attention span of a goldfish. I don't blame y'all. I do too. Rate us on Apple Podcasts, rate us on Spotify. We're going to keep on pumping these episodes out going into 2024. We got a couple more days. And we'll be back here Thursday. We'll see y'all. Be safe out here. Enjoy y'all's Christmas. Enjoy y'all's New Year's.